So I sold this experience that was able to cover the costs because people are like, if you do this, what do I need to do to pay for it? Right? And that's the way that I think with everything. If you want something so bad, like you're going to find a way to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to pay for it, you must sell something. What is it that you want to invest in that you may feel like is out of reach? Instead of thinking it's out of reach, think, how do I get this to cover this? Like, just take the action. Hey everyone, it's Tamara Thompson with Women Unlocking Wealth, and I'm here with my co-host Danielle Thompson.
Hey everybody.
We're super excited for our next episode. We're going to talk a little bit about risk-taking and what that means to us, and maybe you should think about it as well. So let's kind of dive in and talk about some of our experiences as women in business and risk-taking. Risk-taking for me has literally been a change in my life. Like, that's what's propelled us and our business in so many different ways because of these risks. Now more calculated risks than the beginning. Of course, I was like, let's just go in and do this. Yes, I feel called. Calculation is probably more important now when you're scaling a business. But risks are a big component of why we've gotten to where we are today. I want you to talk a little bit about some of the risks that you've taken in life and business as we dive in today.
It's been a lot. I mean, when you're creating something from scratch, there's a lot that you need to learn, and you really need to just jump in and get the right mentors and learn just the direction that you need to go. And for me, as you know, when I was working in corporate, I was walking through Barnes and Nobles, and my car had just broken down. And there was this book that was just like, it was like angels. It was like, and it was like the Success Principles book by Jack Canfield. And I was like, damn, my life sucks right now. I really need to read this book. Like, and that book, if you've ever seen it, it's pretty thick.
Yeah, I just don't read. So.
Tamara doesn't know how to read.
I'm illiterate. No, I just don't enjoy reading.
So at the time, I was so broke, and I had just graduated college, got a biology degree. I don't know why, but I did. And I was like, I really need to learn from this guy. I need to sit down and read this book. I couldn't afford the book. It was only $20.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat in Barnes and Nobles and I read the whole damn book.
Did you come back like the next day? Did you read it the whole day?
There was like,
because I can't read that fast.
No, it took hours. Like, I read the book and I had some key takeaways from it. And I was like, okay, number one, take responsibility for your life. I was placing a lot of blame on other people.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, ultimately, it was just me taking 100% responsibility for my life. And his book really was like a lead generation tool for him. And he had retreats, he had events. And I was like, I really want to go and connect with him at this retreat. It's at his house in Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
And I was like, I really want to do that. And so I got on the sales call. And they were like, it's $15,000. I'm like, I make $60,000 a year. Like, that's like a lot of my income.
I work a corporate job.
I'm like, why?
I don't have a business yet.
Exactly. And so you, Miss Ma'am, Tamara was the one that really pushed me. She was like, Danielle, I feel like this is the right thing to do for you. And so I invested the $15K, and we went to his house, and it really just opened my eyes to a broader horizon of like what else is out there. Like, growing up in a lower middle class family, there's a lot of things that I just didn't get. Like, I never was in a space where people had a great growth mindset, and they wanted to achieve more in life and give back to communities. And like, that just really opened my eyes to what else was possible.
No, and I mean, and I know you went back and forth with it over the years. You're like, man, should I have done that? That was $15,000 put onto credit cards, and you started to go into debt, and you're like, what the heck was I doing? And we've made several investments in different risks on that side too. But I think that it gives you a little bit of taste of things like that. Like, you step into Jack Canfield's, mansion in Santa Barbara, and you kind of see what he's built with his success with, the Chicken Noodle Soup for the Soul book series and the Success Principles and things like that. And I think you probably stepped in there and was like, what am I doing here?
I was, because I was just an employee. I was a manager of a company, and I did not have a business at the time, but it was planted a seed in me to really go after this business with you. Like at the time, Tamara you had Serious Take Productions, and so you were focused on videography, weddings, filming, musicians, and a lot of them like from American Idol, The Voice, X Factor. She was like literally just like running after them, chasing them, and they were like, "Oh, I'd let you could sleep on my couch. I'll pay you in coupons." And she was like, "Oh, Danielle, I have a coupon to this fancy restaurant." And I'm like, "Girl,
$200."
I'm like, no, that is not the way to build a business.
But when you're just getting a taste of things like that, like investing in things, like I didn't know. Like my mindset wasn't huge. Like it's grown tremendously over the years because going through these experiences to when I was building a portfolio for free, sleeping on couches, getting drives from, people from American Idol. I was like sitting in studios with them. Like I was like, this is cool. I get to hang out and do a video. I did a music video for several of them for free back then, just because I was building a portfolio. But then you were the one that encouraged me. You're like, Tamara, what are you doing? You're like, you need to, work with people that have budgets. And then you're literally
entrepreneurs.
You were the one that brought up entrepreneurship because around that time, Shark Tank came out. So Shark Tank literally became this idea. Like I was actually in my corporate office that I was working for. I was a video production manager at the time in this corporate field. And they literally were in the office one day. They're talking about Shark Tank. And I literally thought it was National Geographic. I was like, what is this shark show? Is it like Jaws, like whatever, National Geographic? And they were like, no, it's a business show. And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So this is like obviously years ago because there's so many. What are they, season 16 now, Shark Tank? And so like this is when it first came out and it inspired me. And then you were like, you should go after these types of individuals to connect with instead of, musicians. So we started doing that, started building relationships, and started reaching out on Twitter and different things like that. And all of a sudden I was connected to all these people that were on Shark Tank. Not all of them, of course, had success because they were on the show trying to get publicity for their entrepreneurial ways. But they thought different. They thought bigger. And so I watched Shark Tank, and then I watched The Prophet. And, certain things in life now, I realized that I manifested a lot of the connections that I've made because I set the intention to meet somebody. And because I never feel like anything's impossible, I actually went to an event last week. And within this room, they kept asking the entrepreneurs, what is that one thing that's impossible for you to reach? And I literally stood up in the room and I said, I don't believe anything's impossible. You just have to figure out how to get there and how to get there faster. And so that was always my mentality with things because all of a sudden I'm, tweeting Lori Grenier from Shark Tank and I got her attention and she followed me back. I tweeted Marcus Lemonis from CNBC's The Prophet. I got his attention. He tweeted and followed me back. I started building relationships with all of these individuals that I admired, these investors, these entrepreneurs, and learning from them and watching these shows and then attending these events where they spoke. All of a sudden, I was attending an event where Damon John was speaking and he like saw me as he's walking out onto the stage and he veers over to the audience and like gives me a high five. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'm like, I just got to see him speak. And like, I'm starting to manifest meeting these people. So I was just putting myself in the place to where I could meet these people. And then I started having conversations with people. And so it's interesting because then a few years later, I actually got to speak on stage with Marcus Lemonis. And that was one of my dreams, was to meet him. And then I still have a goal to do a project with Lori Grenier. And there's opportunities around that definitely can open up doors. And so it's like, you tell yourself in your head, like you set those manifestation and those things and you take the risks to get to where you want to go. And one of the biggest risks I think that we did, and you were back then, was literally the idea of hiring a keynote speaker for an event. So I was feeling extremely called. My soul was literally being like, you need to connect with this individual. And so I'd actually I was watching some keynote speeches and it wasn't like it was just one of those days where you're just kind of like watching some content, and I actually watched who is now my dear friend Randy Zuckerberg, a keynote that she did in Mexico. And what was unique about it, it wasn't that it was like a superb, inspiring speech. It was the fact that she had this. She was speaking, and there was a translator in the back end, and you could tell how calm she was trying to stay with all the tech issues that were going on. I was like, she's got to be so patient there, like behind the scenes. And I told her that later. I said, the reason I wanted to reach out is because I could tell how composed you kept with like probably no one was speaking English, and you're like, have a translator in your ear. And just like, I was like, there's challenges no matter where you are, no matter what success. And something said in my head, I got a download, and I literally was like, I need to connect with her. And so I tried to reach out to her on Instagram. I tried to tweet her. I tried to email her assistant. I tried to email this. I tried to do this. I'm like, nothing worked. I was like, all right, I'm just going to hire her. So I reached out to, we were having a large event in San Diego in 2019. And I wrote and I said, what would it take to hire her as our keynote? They were like, that'll be $60,000. And at the time, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, is this worth it? I kept telling you, I was like, trust me, this intuition, trust me. Something much bigger is going to come from this. I was like, I know it. I feel it in my soul. And so I did. Danielle wasn't like, she was supportive. You were supportive through it. You allowed me to go through the experience.
And I had a cyst on my neck that grew bigger, and I literally had to get it surgically removed right after the event.
Literally the morning after the event, I took her to basically the emergency room to get this cyst removed from her neck because it grew so big from the stress that I put on her to take the risk to hire a keynote speaker for $60,000. Not knowing where that's going to lead.
And that's just the keynote speaker cost. Like, you still have the hotel, you have the room blocks, you have the food, the dining, you have a lot.
And these are the things that people don't understand.
Oh, the AV and...
Well, yeah, but for the keynote speaker, you also pay for first class flights.
Mm-hmm.
So Randy actually ended up changing her flight 3 times. So, this started adding up. So all of a sudden it was like $75,000, $80,000, stuff like that. And this is from an entrepreneur that like, we were about to propel our offer out into the world, right? Like this was like our lead more so into our agency side. So I was taking this huge risk, spending all this money with the sense of not knowing what would come from it. But I knew in my soul that something bigger was coming. And so after that, when we went through that experience, I had to think, how do I position things to make money to pay for her costs? So I love experiences. And so I take risks with different experiences and then I sell them. And so I went around and I started DMing and texting all of my colleagues, all these people I knew liked experiences that didn't mind to spend $5,000 here or there. So I said, I'd love for you to come out to this experience. It's a flat $5,000. You're going to come out and hang out with Randy Zuckerberg. You're going to mastermind with her that evening. We're going to do some really cool stuff. I'm going to take you to a private secret location. You're not going to know anything else. So all of a sudden I sold, 45 people, $5,000. So there you go. I started covering the costs to cover her keynote. These people came in, they had a great experience. We got a mastermind with that. Randy ended up leaving because she had just had a baby and she had to go breastfeed and other things like that. But I continued the journey with everybody who paid that $5,000 to mastermind with her that evening. We took them into a Hummer limo that took them over to a private yacht that then took them to a secret location in the Coronado Bay to a 3-story mansion that we then masterminded and had an amazing time the rest of the night. So I sold this experience that was able to cover the costs because people are like, well, if you do this, what do I need to do to pay for it? Right? And that's the way that I think with everything. If you want something so bad, like you're going to find a way to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to pay for it, you must sell something, right? Don't sell your soul, but make sure you do something that you know and you like and you can sell. And so that's what I did with that experience to cover her costs. Right as she left the place, though, she went over to our event planner and she said to Whitney, she said, Tamara is one of the most humble people I've ever met. And she ended up following me on Instagram that night. it's not normal that just a keynote speaker that you hire comes out to usually corporations and stuff like that. But we weren't a corporation. We were literally, entrepreneurs trying to step into this space. But I took that risk, which then came back tenfold through building a strong relationship. COVID then hit, and Randy and I became really good golf buddies during COVID. And then we ended up doing business from the golf course. She ended up becoming a client of ours, and then she was making introductions for us. So that experience and investment came back. I now had a new great friend, a golf buddy, a new client. And then she also taught us how to invest in companies in a way that was strategically for us at that point. And we've now invested in 33 companies? And one of the people that helped us to do that was Randy. So like you take the risks, you make these large investments, and then see how you can make that money back, but then advance it. So it's like, what is it that you want to invest in that you may feel like it's out of reach? Instead of thinking it's out of reach, think, how do I get this to cover this? Like, just take the action. So
yeah, and I think another memorable risk that we took, I wouldn't say it wasn't that big a risk, but it's a different investment for us. Was hiring a mentor for a day for $25,000 cash wired to his bank account.
They didn't accept credit cards. They couldn't leverage any other debt for him. So he's like, the only way that you get a half day with me, you wire 25.
Yeah, and it was a half day. It wasn't even a full day.
It was 4 hours. And that $25,000 investment, though, turned into, a lot more.
Well, that specific year, it turned into an extra $350,000, and then over time, it's probably made us multiple millions just from that one half day of consulting with him. And it's like these. I come from a low middle class family. Like, we're on the brink of poverty. Like, it was, it wasn't the best. It was, my parents always provided. So I don't want to say that we didn't have what we needed. But when
Mom's
you're
very nurturing,
my mom,
she's
my
there
parents
for you
are,
and the kids. Like,
they're very loving.
Was her dream, is to have a family and kids, raise kids.
So what I was saying is that we really did have to build this business from scratch, and we had to surround ourselves with the right people, be in the right rooms, have the right partnerships and connections. But we always led with a go-giver mentality. The only thing I would add to that is, in the beginning, it seemed like a lot of circus acts. Like, we didn't need to go and take a yacht to a mansion to go do this.
But that sold the experience for people to pay $5,000 in order to feel like that was valuable enough to them to come out to that experience to then cover the cost.
And the mansion was actually, it was a partnership deal. Like, we ended up doing something to have an exchange of
and
there's
a relationship factor.
So
having a relationship with other, valuable partners that you can do, you get special rates, special introductions, special things like that. So yeah, like, having those power partners is one of the biggest things. Like, taking the risk to actually reach those power partners, though, as well. Like, reaching out and following up and being consistent and all the things that people are like, oh, it just sounds like too much work. But not really. Once you get going, like, you have that knack for it.
Oh, and I should add another risk or interesting thing that you've done. Like, Tamara, you've done stuff where you take a flight to the airport for a day and just to meet the right person. And
yeah, no, recently, just this last month, I took a flight to a nearing city, and I literally just took a flight to the airport to have a meeting in the airport, just to take a flight back home in a few hours. So I went to go meet a gentleman for dinner in the airport because I knew he lived on the East Coast, and I knew he was close enough to me in Utah. And so I was like, you're going to be speaking at an event. I'm coming to you. Like, you could have a much better opportunity when you sit down with someone one-on-one and have a conversation versus having a Zoom call. I'm like, may I have just a little bit of your time? Like, may I have 90 minutes with you? I will come to you. I've done it several times. I flew out to North Carolina once to meet somebody that's sold her company for $1.5 billion. Like, I've done some crazy stuff in order to get in front of people that I feel called to meet, that I feel like there's something bigger there. If the connection piece doesn't quite formulate in that moment, it comes back though. What I've seen with everything that's happened in my life and with our life, with the business, if you've noticed it too, imagine there are circles that are overlapping each other, like 3 different circles. If you imagine 3 different circles and you're just kind of following this kind of flow, and on these circles, you have a person that kind of reaches in your space at a given point in time in the universe. They will come back into your life as this loops, and they keep coming back. And it's happened to me several times. Example, years back when I was doing documentary filmmaking, one of the individuals I felt called to reach out to was Anthony Milcuri from Hotel Impossible. Loved the show. Wasn't I'm not like a fangirl or anything, but I loved the show. Loved what he did. He built his success from the ground up, starting with the lowest point in the hospitality industry to becoming a hotel influencer that cares about people. And you can tell how much he cares about people. And it was interesting because I reached out, I got his PR guy's attention, and I was like, I'd love to have Anthony be a part of this documentary film. That didn't work out. It didn't work out at the time. They were interested, but didn't work out. Later on, years went by, formulated, reached back out, built a connection, had a call with him. He ended up working with us as a client. He ended up coming out and speaking at our event in 2019, the same one that Randy spoke at. And he came out and built a relationship that way. But this seems to happen quite often that I've seen. If something doesn't work out right then, it's going to happen in the future. Mm-hmm. And that person that we've connected with will connect with us again on our soul level somewhere in our time frame, which is very interesting. So it's happened several times with people.
I don't think everybody has to go into such extreme. Actually, I have this. Well, no, it doesn't tie in with what you said, but not everybody has to go into such extreme risk taking like we have. We kind of went into it because we knew what it was like not to grow up with much. So we had nothing to lose. Actually, being poor is my competitive advantage in life because I know what it's like not to have a bed to lay down and sleep on the floor and shop at Dollar Tree. I know the difference of when we were in that poverty mindset versus being in the abundance and wealth that we've created for ourselves with our business. So it's I just don't know if all the risks were necessary. I mean,
I don't think that all risks are necessary, and people sometimes just kind of skate by in life. They're like, I'm just going to, do what I want to do, take the risks when I want to take risks or whatever, and they're happy with that. Maybe that's their soul journey at this point. Our souls in this lifetime, I've been told several times that my soul loves a challenge. And at this point, I'm like, I don't want a challenge anymore. I just want things to come easier.
I'm ready to retire. And
I'm ready to.
No, I love what I do.
No, I love everything that we're building together, and I'm super grateful for you and for everybody. And not everybody is going to watch this or resonate and be like, I'm not going to spend $60,000 on a keynote. I'm not going to spend $25,000 on a mentor for a half day. That's a pure choice. That may not be part of somebody's soul.
With that being said, when you're looking for the right mentors, have they done what you're doing? Have they already surpassed the goals that you wanted for yourself? Mm-hmm. You have to get really granular. Are they in the right industry issue?
Exactly.
Because if you're going and hiring these mentors in all different fields, some of them you're going to take away stuff from everybody, but you need more
I've seen a lot
action.
of people take risks with things, but then they might share that they invest in a specific type of coach. But I'm always trying to figure out when people tell me something, I'm like, are they in alignment with that person? Was that the right coach? I always think that with us too, but we think very strategically though with our investments. I know some of them you're like, what?
With what we've learned over the years.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. In the beginning,
we will do certain things let's say our next venture is to hire a fractional CMO to come in and take over certain things. When it feels right for us, we'll know. Mm-hmm. We'll know, and we'll make that investment no matter what that looks like, because we know that person, that mentor, that CMO, whatever that person that's coming into our team to help, that's going to allow us to leverage our next set of goals, because we have very large goals that we've set, and I know that we will get there. So it's just like what's
it's
important
like
to you.
like you're striving to hit the 7 figures, and then you hit 7 figures, and you're like, how do you go to 8 figures? How do you go to 9 figures? And even at that point, it's like, and why are we doing it? Like, and having that purpose and why, and to help spread messages that matter. In our scenario of like in the podcasting agency, is to get across messages that people resonate with and are inclusive and really do matter. So
yeah, well, everybody's message matters. I had a conversation the other day. We were talking about like that theme that people leverage, that your mess is your message, and I disagreed. I literally was like, I don't believe everybody has a mess that needs to turn into a message, because you can have a message because you're an expert or you have an experience. Turn your experiences into your expertise. You don't have to be like a negative point. I see your message like as maybe a more of the direction. If you have that type of message, then you can become a motivational speaker, right? Maybe that's a track to go down. But when people promote that to everybody, like that's not the case. Not everybody has a messy story to tell, or like I've had talked to people. They're like, I don't have this crazy story like you, Tamara. Like I have 14 years sober now, because of some of the poor choices I made in my 20s. But that message doesn't define me. That's not who I am. I'm a very resilient woman at this point. And those years were just a path and a time in my life where I don't even look back at that now. Like I don't need to reoccur that mess or that message into a story that I do.
I mean, that goes to because we're wrapping back around to the topic of the being risk takers. Like you've had time in your life where you spiraled into alcohol addiction and you spent some jail time. So the thing with that is
you have into this story.
Like, no, and I do want to go into the story because I used to steer away from it because it's not you
not
anymore.
Me. It doesn't define me. Yes.
The thing is that when you're at that point, you have to build the resilience. Like once you've gone through that, you've just like going through being poor. If you're homeless or you've dealt with other like narcotic addictions, like
and this is a prime.
You have another resilience toleration.
Well, here's a prime example. So, like you said, being able to, go through my 20s in a path of depression and addiction that led into jail time, into other things. And then I sobered up at age 30 and then went into the business path. I released everybody that I was connected to. I released, anything that didn't serve me. And I went down this new direction that inspired me, which was entrepreneurship. And so I took that risk to make a change that I don't need to necessarily tell this crazy, messy story, though, in order to inspire people, because there's so many other amazing stories that evolved after that. Being able to come out of addiction and depression and things like that, to being sober to 14 years, to building a successful company, to building a multi-7-figure agency, to marrying a beautiful wife, to, coming out of the closet, to whatever that is. There's so many risks that I've taken and so many different stories that have evolved over it. And so like success is what you want it to be, right? And you don't have to be, depending on where you're at in your life and business. Like I just want women and other people to really realize that they have what it takes to get to where they want. Maybe they don't want to have the 7-figure annual business run. Maybe they don't want more. Maybe they're happy and content with what they do, and that's totally fine. But those that are out there that are thinking that and wanting that, and know that everybody has what it takes to get there. Like you just have to have the right mentors, make the right investments, and take the right risks.
And also know that your circumstances, no matter what you're going through, they're temporary. Like you will get through this.
And everybody's going through something. And, a lot of people say in the entrepreneurial space that they feel alone. That's one of the bigger things, is they felt alone. But when you get mentors and you get help and build communities out, or listen to podcasts, where you can resonate with people, I think that's one of the things that will help people get to their next level and, decide their next risk. So,
yeah.
Well, that was a big talk about risk taking in different areas. We appreciate all of you that are watching the show. Be sure to subscribe, leave a comment, let us know what type of risk you're taking today in your life and business, and we'll see you in the next episode.